assets and current liabilities are anything with a term of less than 1 year. Non-current assets and non-current liabilities are anything with a term of greater than 1 year. And in terms of Qantas, it turns out that it has a lot of cash on hand, which is good because that allows it to meet its short-term obligations. It has some accounts receivable in the form of credit card sales to customers. And it has some inventory in terms of maybe it's like food and drink, maybe it's spare parts, maybe it's fuel, those kinds of things. A large part of Qantas's assets are its planes, obviously, right? Qantas needs a lot of planes that fly all around the world. They have a value of about $13 million. That's a large amount. And then it has some other intangible non-physical assets as well. Okay, brand name, software, and so forth. So it turns out its total assets sum to about $20,000 million. And then all of these assets are funded somehow. And it turns out that Qantas has a huge amount of current liabilities or accounts payable. Remember, these are credit card payments to its suppliers. Okay, so the people that supply planes, maybe a large amount of this is for fuel. Okay, because it needs a lot of fuel to fly around the world. In addition to that, it's got some long-term debt and some owner's equity, which is funds injected to the company to fund the rest of its operations. The key part is that when you add everything up on this right-hand side, it's equal to everything on the left-hand side. Okay, so remember your balance sheet has to balance. And I haven't provided all the numbers here, so it might not balance just from the numbers I provided, but promise me it does. I mean, I promise you it does. Okay, and just lastly, the income statement that I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with. The income statement or profit and loss statement is a summary of a company's revenues and costs. And then it ultimately tells you how much money or profit is left over. So I'm just writing on the slide here the most very basic formula for the income statement. Okay, so take your revenues, that's cash inflow, that's good. Take off all your costs, which are outgoings, add everything together, gives you your final profit. So as we can see here, Qantas makes a lot of sales. This is from last year's financial statements. We know that under this coronavirus situation, Qantas is currently not flying. So its sales are going to be way down. Okay, and its costs might also be way down, but these numbers are from last year, if you were wondering. Add on to that some other income from maybe sales on its frequent flyer service or merchandise. Take off the cost of goods sold. So these are the costs that it incurs to keep the service running. So it could be related to food and drink that it provides. It could be related to fuel. It could be related to airport fees and so forth. And that's its largest sort of operating expense. Take off some general admin expenses for salary, utilities, and insurance. Take off some more expenses for maybe marketing, depreciation, which is the decline in value of its planes. And if you add all of these things together, we get its EBIT. Okay, so some of you have heard of EBIT before. It's your earnings before interest and tax. Okay, also known as your operating income. And if you take off your interest, if you take off your tax, you're left with Qantas's final take-home profit. Okay, so if you remember, higher net profit means higher earnings per share, typically means higher share prices, which means that the owners are happy chappies. Okay, guys, so we've gone for a good amount of time today. So that's all I had to sort of summarize today and relate things to the real world for Qantas. I'll hang around for a few moments. If you have any more questions, I'll try and answer some of the questions that were asked earlier. Otherwise, have a good week, stay safe. And of course, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always here for you guys. So shoot me an email, put your question on the discussion board and so forth. Otherwise, tutorials start next week. And when you get a chance, make sure you watch the lecture pre-recordings. All right. So I'm just going to turn off the recording.